Welcome to the Hashi. Welcome to the Hashi. Thank you, Bobby. That was quite the delay here in Dallas, Texas, going live from our little BAM studio. And again, looking at the Statler, which is where we will have BAM Bash tonight. So if you're in Dallas, definitely hit me up. If you're a BAMX member, you're guaranteed to get in. BAMX members will have their own line for the BAM Bash tonight here in Dallas. If you're not a BAMX member, you can go to the link down below. Use code HOT to get 10% off. And what is absolutely hot right now is, unfortunately, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Okay, it is. We're going to dispel some things here on this hot sheet. There's a lot of rates go up and then you get all the bubble talk and real estate's about to, burst in a big way. And so we're going to dispel some of that. But let's just take a look at where we were yesterday as we signed off on rates. And the reading came in at the highest level since 2000. So 23-year high at 7.48. The two previous reads at 7.37. Tied last year's single day highest read, 7.48 now. Again, obviously the highest since we've gotten since they started increasing rates. And even the 15-year rate is up close to 7% right now at 6.88. If I go to the 15-year, which is typically pretty low, you've got 6.88 on the single day read yesterday. Could certainly get up towards 7% in and of itself. Okay, so that's where we're at on the 30-year fixed. And what is that doing to the market before we start getting to the bubble talk and why anyone telling you that there is some huge bubble about to burst and why they're wrong? Let's take a first look at housing market affordability. Okay, it's worse now than at the height of the housing bubble in 2006. So this headline can be kind of deceiving because you see the word housing bubble and affordability being worse now than it was then. And it's like, well, of course, we're going to go into a bubble. That's what's misleading, right? So as the rates reached 7.48 yesterday, marking the highest since the year 2000, this is the fortune piece that Lance Lambert put out right after that happened yesterday. Even prior to this recent surge in rates, housing affordability, as monitored by the Atlanta Fed, had already deteriorated beyond the level seen at the housing bubble's peak in 2006. Once this latest mortgage rate surge is factored in, August 2023 will become the worst month for housing affordability this, wait for it, century. Okay, the journey to this predicament can be traced back to last year's sharp rise in mortgage rates, which escalated obviously from 3 to 7. That rate surge coupled with the pandemic housing boom, pushing U.S. home prices up over 40% in just 2 years. Okay, so let's just take a look at, and I've got all of our downloads available in one place on BAMX. So if you're not a BAMX member, use the code HOT to get 10% off. All of these downloads today will be available there. U.S. housing affordability worse, obviously now since 2006. So this chart just a day behind here on yesterday's news. And you can see here, you had extreme affordability in the housing market in 2009, 2011, 2013. All of those years did not have it in 2006, 2007, similar to where we're at today, to 69.5. Okay. What are the drivers of housing affordability? This is according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. So you've got the income component doing very well right now. House price component. Okay. We know home prices are very high. And so that's going to be one of those measures against affordability. And then the mortgage rate component, which you can see is all that red on the chart. And the mortgage rate component is a component hurting us the most. A positive figure means that the component improved housing affordability on a year-over-year basis. The negative figure means that the component worsened housing affordability on a year-over-year basis. And you see that is what we're dealing with the mortgage rate right now. Now, typically, you do see prices go down when rates go up this high, but they haven't done that right now, right? And so that's the bubble that people are talking about is going to happen. Okay. But how can it happen? When we take a look at what's actually going on for homeowners right now, we know that over 90% of homeowners have a mortgage rate at 5% or less. You've got 3.7% of mortgage holders in this country greater than 6%. You've got between 5 and 6%, another 5.3%. Okay, so that's 9% that are above 5% on the 30-year fix. So 91% of mortgage holders, 30-year fixed mortgage holders for their home are under 5%. They're locked in. Homeowners are locked into a really low cost on their housing, a fixed cost. That's why it's called the 30-year fixed rate. And this is the explanation that mortgage professionals, real estate professionals, really, this is the conversation they really should be having with the public who believes there's going to be some burst and some huge opportunity for them to cash in on a low deal and really take advantage, a la 2009, of a real estate market that'll be ripe for the picking with investments. Okay. Let's take a look at another key factor from Logan Mohtashami of why there's not a housing bubble brewing up right now in the way that everybody wants to talk housing bubble. Okay, now I've said plenty of times that real estate has crashed and it's crashing, and that's talking about total transactions. Okay, so transactions have plummeted. We're very low on transactions. We're going to see another report later today, which we'll talk about tomorrow, from NAR on existing home sales. Transactions are certainly have crashed and are continuing to crash late into this year. But prices have not, even with the increase of rates. And prices, I mean, we just looked at the fixed rate. Why would those, let's just go back to that, right? Why would these homeowners locked in under 5% sell their house at a loss? They've got a great, why would they wouldn't sell it at a loss. They're not going to sell it for a discount. Like, who would, I'm going to sell my house, give up a 3% mortgage rate and sell it at a discount, right? There's one obvious signal that we're not going to see prices just plummet. But here's another obvious, and Logan writes on X. Got to get used to saying that. It's crazy. It feels so weird. It doesn't feel weird to say BAMX, by the way, and you get 10% off using code HOT. Logan Mohtashami says from Housing Wire, also another key factor is with the QM laws that are, and am I sharing that, Bobby? Yeah. All right. With the QM laws in place after 2010, anyone buying a home is now legit. They are not struggling households. In 96 through 2005, the credit markets allowed too much credit expansion. We've had, a huge retraction of credit. It's 9 or 10 times less available credit now for mortgages than it was then. Okay, so he goes on to write, much different credit cycles these days. I put this chart in BAMX daily downloads today. Number of consumers with new foreclosures and bankruptcies. Look at that. Okay, going all the way back to 2003, we are at, in the last 20 years, the lowest levels in the last couple of years here that we've seen. You'd have to start getting a I don't know, 2-3 year run up of these before you'd start to see a real impact on home prices, because that, we'd have to increase the inventory. Now, right now, where are there some opportunities with these high rates? I mean, right now we do have the most inventory that we've seen all year. Okay, so inventory is actually up to the highest level, which is a good thing. Let me see if I can find, I did have a chart on that, by the way. Don't know. Oh, here it is. I've got it. So This is from Altos Research, U.S. single-family total available inventory weekly by year. Okay, so this is the highest peak we've been at all year. Okay, so that's an opportunity for some buyers. Okay, that maybe they've been really frustrated and they haven't been able to buy. Okay, well, we've got the most options we've had all year. 496,541. It's above the 2021 marker. It's negative year over year from 2022. I could envision rates stay high, that we get up over last year's mark and maybe even over 2020. Like, could we get somewhere in this range here where we get north of 600,000? I could see that with rates being high. So that brings, again, more opportunity for buyers. We're certainly well off of the healthier inventory levels of 2019, 18, and 17. I don't see any signals that we can get there. But listen, as rates go down, everybody's rooting for rates to go down. Sorry, as rates go down, what's going to happen here? There's going to be more buyers that can afford and come into the market. So if you're one of those buyers, and this is, a conversation that real estate professionals need to have and articulate to people with their individual situation. If you're one of those buyers that can afford 7.5, I mean, for years and years, many buyers have afforded 7.5 mortgage interest rates. If you're one of those buyers that can, like, oh, I'm good with that payment, I can move forward. Now the payment is getting more severe for the house. There's no question about it. I'm not denying the facts here. People actually say that I'm too pessimistic at time for just addressing the facts. Like, everybody just wants to have this optimistic look. I'm very realistic. But if you can afford the payment, which is getting significantly worse, there's no question about it. How much can you afford as mortgage rates change? Okay, at 6.81, which we're well off of right now, you could afford on a $3,500 payment, just over a $500,000 home. If we just kind of get to here, you're going to be now just at or under a $500,000 home on a $3,500 payment. So it's continuing to get worse, and prices aren't going down. But say you're somebody who can, again, afford that payment. Are you going to have less competition from the buy side now, or if rates get back down to 6.5, or if they get back down to, I don't know, 6.2, which would be certainly an interesting number. That number would be welcomed to a lot of home buyers and real estate professionals. Well, that number is exactly where Mortgage Banker Association believes we're going to average for Q4. Okay, this is Mortgage Banker Association's new outlook as of yesterday, their mortgage finance forecast. Talk about housing starts in here, single family, 2 or more, home sales. They've got the home sale numbers in here. But I'm going to go right to the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. And in Q4, Mortgage Banker Association has us at an average of 6.2. This quarter, they have us at 6.8. Of course, we're sitting at 7.5 now. So that would tell me that Mortgage Banker Association believes that we are going to come off of 7.5 by the end of this quarter, and we're going to start to dramatically decline on the 30-year fixed rate, and we're going to average throughout the fourth quarter 6.2. So, like, not only do we got to come down, we got to come all the way down and sit there for a 90-day period to close out the year. In Q1 of next year, they've got us at 5.9. That's not that far off. They've got us at under 6% on the 30-year fix. The 10-year, they have averaging 3.6 in Q4. We're at 4.3 plus today. So they've got a huge drop here as a projection coming for the 10-year. Now, they've been wrong before, okay? And this is kind of an increase just from, am I on iPad? Good. This is kind of an increase, or it is an increase, obviously, from where they were just 30 days ago at 5.9. So they've gone up on their outlook for the 30-year fixed, but they're not looking at what's happening the last 30 days with this rising 10-year and saying, we're going dramatically up. We're going to increase this rapidly like the 10-year has and react to it. They've gone up 0.3, 6.2 is where they're at. They were at 5.9 30 days ago. Again, this was just released yesterday, this 6.2 outlook. So it's not old. It's very fresh. And so, anyways, I don't know. They could be right. Let's pull for that. Now, I think you'd have to have some kind of information like jobs. And there was a report this morning that, hey, maybe we're not actually filling as many jobs as we thought. There was another report this morning that said new hires at same position this year as opposed to last year are getting hired in at 5% lower. So, these would be signals that maybe we're bringing inflation down, in the rate that we want. Anyways, I don't know. I just don't know if that's going to come true. I think we're going to be higher for longer. To me, it feels like we could get back to 7 and high 6s. 6.2 does seem like a stretch. I think it's very optimistic. Okay. But this is the data from Mortgage Banker Association. I think it's worth taking a look. Maybe Mortgage Banker Association is trying to put too much optimism out there. We're here in Dallas, and Tom's going to, one of his 7 things he's going to talk about today is that agents should stop complaining about the real estate market. I tend to agree. Complaining gets you nowhere. But don't get that confused with running around spouting off ridiculous optimism that will confuse consumers. We have to be realistic, right? And I've talked about this before where you got to be prepared for not 6.2. Banking on 6.2 would not be a good bet. Okay. I think transactions continue to drop at a pace we haven't seen in many, many years. That's okay, because most agents don't do real estate transactions. Okay. Most agents aren't on the hot sheet. Hit the thumbs up if you agree with that. Most agents are not in Dallas. Most agents aren't going to be at Bam Bash tonight. Most agents are holding a license, not using their license, not practicing real estate. So even in a climate where there's reducing transactions, the professionals are certainly rising to that opportunity and servicing the needs of those in their community. The 10-year is obviously serving us up a big 30-year fixed rate. We're going up more, 4.349. Probably get a higher read up over 7.5 today on the 30-year fixed, and it just happens to be what it is. This could continue to increase some inventory. Again, inventory is the highest point year per date. It's a silver lining. I want to see more inventory. We don't get closer to affordable options for anybody unless we get more supply. And that's, put the mortgage rate aside. Until we get more supply, we don't really have a true affordable outlook for a lot of home buyers. So an increase in inventory is certainly a welcoming signal. All right. Hope to see you if you're in Dallas tonight. The Bam Bash, BAMX members absolutely guaranteed to get in. And if you're not a BAMX member yet, use code HOT to get 10% off. I will see some of you guys tonight. If I'm not seeing you, have a great day. Productive Tuesday. We'll see you back here on the hot sheet tomorrow. Until then, toodaloo.